I have a confession. I was too hasty to judge you. I thought you witless, gutless, unimpressively bland.
And now?
Now, well, you've earned my respect and more.
Hey, Namarson, I'm not going to waste any money on this estro garbage. What are you talking about?
Battle. You've proven your courage. I swear you would tear the horns off one dragon to plunge into another. And you're hardly bland. Your scent alone is enough to make my neck sweat and my hairs stand on end.
Okay, Lizelle, time to go to horny jail. I'm gonna not. Oh God, I don't. Now I have to respond. She put me in a spot. This game, like everyone in this game is so horny all the time. Let me look at your chat here. Okay, so again, welcome to the chat, Namarson. This is my first time playing this game, so, and I know that like mechanically and everything, graphics, it's great. I really enjoyed the system and stuff, but like the story is kind of like, I don't know, some of the character stuff is just weird. Like, look at this, like coming on to me. Why are you such a prickly grouch? The attraction's mutual. I'm not gonna say that. I'll just say, why are you such a prickly grouch?
If you must know, Vlaakith requires...
Choose number 4, obviously, yeah.
I can't...
No, actually, I'm sorry, Norwegian, but if I had to like judge all the NPCs on their attractiveness, Lae'zel's probably the hottest. And
I know only
for a Gith Yankee. It's that cute little nose.
My mind is silver and my body steel. I am what I must be, say what I must be, to survive every beast I face and every wound I bear. Enough talk. I will be plain. I want to taste you. Perhaps tonight, perhaps later, but I want it all the same.
Wow,
Do you?
That's, oh God, no! Shit. Fuck. I can't really get out of this now. What do I say? What do I do? I need Allison to tell me. I guess the nose reminds you of anime waifus. I'm kind of joking about the little nose thing. My God, dudes. Okay, Hannah set up a show for today. Got a notification, just checking it. Oh no, that's my stream. Choose no. Blade Kaiser, just hit escape. Just get out. Get out of there. Get out. Go. I don't know what to say. Okay, so I think I'll be sarcastic and say, sure thing. I've been wanting a hot Gith Yankee girlfriend. I don't know. Choose no. Norwegian says I should say no. What will happen if I do that? She'll probably be pissed with me. So this is like, I honestly, I had Lae'zel in my party for like a little while. Like for most of this game so far, I didn't have any of the NPCs in my party. And I only brought Lae'zel in because of story stuff I needed to do with the Gith Yankee temple, and I needed her to do the talking and stuff, right? So I let her stay in my party, and I didn't really talk to her much, and she's already throwing herself at me. Like, is this role playing now? Is this what it is? Is this what people think D&D is? I don't know. I'll just say they expect you to choose yes, subvert their expectations. Ant Bays 97 says it's interesting how this game is sexualized and gets a pass, but games like Stellar Blade and Senran Kagura get censored or changed to the point the latter doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. Well, actually, yeah. I mean, I have Senran Kagura for PS4, and I mean, like, there's a lot of like, what would you call it? It's not sexual, but there's a lot of like, you know, kind of innuendos and fan service jokes and like sex jokes, but nothing serious. But I think it's because those characters are attractive for one, and it's kind of like a Japanese like thing, you know, where they're more like waifus. And this, I mean, I don't know, man. Like I think there's something pretty perverse going on here. Welcome Ann Bays, by the way, to the show. And feel free, as you can see, if you look over here on the right side, the bottom, I have a talking arcade machine. Speak to the arcade machine. Send a message to her by @arcade machine. And it costs 100 coins. Stick around the stream and you'll earn more coins as it goes. Blade Kaiser says not only sexualized but kind of woke too. Yeah, it is for sure. Like that's what I'm saying. There's a kind of, because look, this is another thing too, is that like I don't know like how the game works in terms of like what, you know, what, like if, okay, let me put it this way. In games that have romance options in the past, okay, I remember the first game I ever played that had romance options that I've ever played. There were probably games before. I know there were games before this. But the first one I ever played that had romance options was Dragon Age Origins. And I made a male wizard. And I was interested in seeing how the mechanics for it worked. So I ended up with, I had two characters as an option for a female counterpart. One was Morgan, and the other one was Leliana. I think she was like a bard or something. And I didn't, since I made a wizard, I never brought Morgan into my party because I didn't need two wizards. I was the wizard. Because, you know, normally when people play these RPGs, they play like fighter types a lot of times, right? But I wanted to see if the game would support me making a wizard as my primary character and then like use all of the NPCs as my supporting cast. And the way that, and I ended up with Leliana because she was like the easier one for me, I guess. But the way the game was set up was, I think there were like 4 NPCs that you could start relationships with, maybe 6. But I know there was like a straight male, a straight female, a bisexual male, a bisexual female, and there might have been a gay male and a gay female. Maybe they did it that way. I can't remember for sure. But I know that you couldn't romance everybody, and they had limitations. So you couldn't, like if you wanted to romance Morgan, you had to be a male. If you wanted to romance Leliana, you could be male or female. There was an elf character that was male that I think swung both ways because whatever, I don't know. And I think that Alistair, who's like the fighter guy, I think he might have been the bisexual one. I don't know. But they had these options. And even then I thought it was a bit weird because I was like, well, you know, if you live in a ancient medieval society, I'm not really sure that like, you know, homosexuality and bisexuality were the norm. I thought, you know, that you wouldn't see it that often. But at least then there were limits, right? And in Cyberpunk 2077, there are a couple characters you can romance there, and they limit those too. So for example, like you make a male character, you can only romance, there were 2 women that could be romanced, but one of them could only be romanced by men, and the other one could only be romanced by women. So it was Judy was the one you could only romance if you were a female, and Panam was the one you could romance if you were male. And I think there were also 2 male characters that you could do that. They had the same rules. So there was like a gay male and a straight male, and there was a gay female and there was a straight female, right? But in this game, it seems like everyone is just like down for whatever. Like everybody is down for whatever. And so I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe if you guys have played this more, you might know. But I think that you could fuck all the characters, no matter what your gender is, and like what, and they're all down. Like they're all down, right? And it's just like, to me, that is pretty woke because it presumes that something about our nature, that like everything is socially constructed, therefore all is permitted, therefore you can fuck or get the Yankee. And it goes back to what I was talking about earlier when I said, well, if Get the Yankee lay eggs, then why are there females with breasts? Like, why are there breasts? Why are there female Get the Yankee that present, that have secondary sexual characteristics, right? Like Lae'zel. And it's not just because it looks nice, because I mean, you know, if I was to just look at it from a purely aesthetic fantasy perspective, you know, like if you guys have ever seen those old like fantasy paintings by Frank Frazetta or Boris Vallejo or any other number of them, you'll see like, you know, kind of alien looking hot women, you know, like John Carter of Mars. There was the Princess of Mars. I can't remember her name, but she was a Martian woman, but in the artwork she looked like a woman, like she was, you know, voluptuous and had breasts and everything. And yet on Mars, in those stories, the Martians were born from eggs, so they weren't like regular people. Like they would lay eggs to make them, and therefore Dejah Thoris, who's the Princess of Mars, specifically in the artwork from the old stories, I don't know about like any of if that's changed or whatever, but I remember when I used to read about it, you would see these nude paintings of Dejah Thoris and she wouldn't have nipples, and they would say that she didn't have nipples because she doesn't nurse the young, but they wanted her to look like a hot chick at the same time. So it was like they were kind of like, you know, making a bit of a compromise for creative purposes, because she wouldn't be seen as the most beautiful woman in the galaxy if she didn't look like a woman. So she had to both be that, but also be alien and strange. And so that's not a problem, like if it's just aesthetic. But I don't think that's the case in this game. I think that what Larian Studios is, I think that there is a lot of like woke shit in this game, and people that really enjoy the game for its gameplay, they don't want to acknowledge that. But I'm willing to do that. Like I'm willing to say that as a gigantic fan of Dungeons and Dragons, who I've played it since I was like a young teenager, this is probably one of the best like recent representations of a D&D campaign in terms of the mechanics and the gameplay. And I like the graphics, and I like seeing a lot of the classic D&D stuff in it, but I do not like the writing decisions and the character decisions that they made, and the moral relativism that is rampant. Like I'm hanging out inside of a Githyanki fortress essentially, you know, and like I'm talking to them and they're like willing to engage. Like in D&D, like Githyanki are really evil. Like they're really evil, but you know, they do this thing where they make it like, well, they're, you know, if you just understand them better, they're like, you could get along with them. And in a way, there's some like wiggle room I would allow, because role-playing games should allow you to role play in, you know, in any scenario. But I do feel like they're kind of treating groups that are purely evil like they could just be misunderstood. Like even from the beginning, when they like you go to the tiefling, you know, there's like the tiefling, what is it, like it's sort of a little retreat or a little shelter area, like a little, you know, they got their little corner of Faerun and they're living together, and there's like druids nearby, and you're talking to the tieflings, and tieflings are like part demon, and they're usually pretty shady. They're usually sketchy dudes, right? But in the story, they're all like misunderstood, and they're like refugees, and you know, so they're like changing the feel of it, where you're like, well, wait a minute, the tieflings are just, and they're like literally like from the first layer of hell. Like, I'm not saying they have to be evil, but like you're kind of painting them out to be, you know, like it's different. And the goblins, it's the same thing. Like the goblins, you know, that's why I wiped out the Goblin Fort, because I was like, but they're goblins, and they're trying to like what they want. The game wants me to negotiate with them and hang out with them and understand them, and it doesn't make sense. And then you got like this, you know, you can't help but notice how many female versions of everything there is. When, and this is the thing that I just want to say, because I gotta quit here in a little bit, so I'm gonna answer this question, but I'm gonna quit the game, so I don't know what's gonna happen after that. But